Hi everyone, this is Heather Lautanen from the Flourish.Academy, and I'm here with my very dear good friend Karen. Welcome, Karen.
Hi Heather, thanks for having me today.
Oh, thanks for being here. So we were scheduled for a mentoring session anyway.
Yes. Right.
So I said, hey, could I interview you since you're going to be here? Because
Right.
you don't live too terribly close.
No, I don't.
How long does it take you to get here?
Almost an hour and a half.
Yeah, it's kind of far, so I thought.
Over the river and through the woods.
Literally.
Yes.
So I thought while you're here, we might as well get to know you a little bit better because I feel like you're up in your market doing your thing and you're like a dark horse. I just want people to know who you are.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're
very
welcome.
grateful.
Okay, so for people that don't know who you are or what you do, could you tell us a little bit about your business and what you focus on?
Sure. My name is Karen Bartos, and I'm the owner at Blue Eyed Pics Photography, and I specialize in high school seniors.
Mm-hmm. And you've always been focused on the seniors. Well, you've done a few other things. Talk to me about the other things you've done.
Sure. I dabbled a little bit in weddings, and I'll leave that to the wedding photographers.
The wedding professionals,
yes,
right,
yes,
right.
Utmost respect for you. Dabbled a little bit in families and a little bit in newborns, but I always came back to my seniors.
Yes.
You and I have talked over the years of if you don't really enjoy shooting that, then why are you shooting it?
Right.
So,
it doesn't make sense.
Right.
Yeah.
So I've evolved into a senior photographer.
And that's what you do.
That's what I do. That's what I love.
Yeah. Every once in a while I see you post a family.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Every once in a while, yeah. I have some clients that are very near and dear to me. So
right.
when they ask if I can do their picture, I can't say no.
No, you can't say no. How did you get started in photography?
And I hate to sound like the typical, I remember when I got my camera, but I remember when I got my camera. I was 9, and we were vacationing in Saugatuck, Michigan.
Oh.
Yes, it was my birthday. It was my birthday present, and it was a little Kodak, and that took the film size 110. And you would open and close it to advance it to the next frame. In fact, I still have my first family picture that I took with it, and everybody's head's cut off.
You were artistic. That was art.
Yes,
you didn't realize that at
right.
the time. Right.
But I just enjoyed using it, taking pictures of landscape things, sunsets. When we would go on vacations, I enjoyed using it. So that's how I got started in photography. And then when I got to college, I had a chance to take a black and white film class. Huge black and white fan. Love Ansel Adams.
Yes. And you love landscapes.
And
also.
I love landscapes.
Yes.
Love Ansel Adams and his work, and his work just draws me in.
Right. So landscapes and, but you were doing it professionally. I mean, until...
No, I just dabbled in it.
Yeah. Until?
I dabbled in it in landscape, just, I started a blog. I never really, I sold a couple prints, but, so I took my black and white class in college, and it was film. Mm-hmm. Life happened, and I had kids. So
3 of them, which to me is like 18, but yeah.
3, and they were under the age of 3 at one point, so my camera got put on the back burner.
Yeah.
And in that time, photography evolved into digital.
Yes.
So I picked my camera back up again when they were a little older. I invested in an entry-level DSLR.
Yep.
And I started shooting landscapes.
Yes.
And I started a blog called The World Through Blue Eyes.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I would pair the landscape picture with some scriptural thoughts.
Oh, yes,
Jesus. Yes, because it really, the word, paired with the picture would really speak to people.
Yes.
So at that time in my life, I needed that creative outlet.
Right.
And I would post it on Facebook, and people in my community knew that
you liked photography.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So then how did that evolve to getting your first client?
Right. Well, since people knew I did that, I had a couple from church approach me and ask me. They said, would you consider doing that senior picture? Ah. And secretly inside, I'm dying, but I'm jumping up and down with excitement because it was something I had always wanted to do, but never had the opportunity. So I said, I'd love to try, but let me explain something to you. I shoot trees and rivers and mountains, and they don't really care what they look like.
Yeah, I don't shoot people. Right.
People care what they look like, especially teenagers. Yes. So I agreed to try, and the rest, as they say, is history.
Wow. What year was that? Do you remember how long ago that was?
It was 2012, but the class of 2013.
Yes.
So I always have to be thinking ahead, the class of, it was the class of 2013. Those kids are now seniors in college.
Yes.
Right. So that first year I shot 4 seniors.
4 seniors that first year.
Right.
And that was just friends who were like, hey, can you take photos?
Right. Right. And I was charging.
Yeah, how much? Do you remember?
$200.
Yeah, that was good.
Right.
That's pretty good. So then what happened? You do 4 that year. They liked their photos. You had fun.
Right.
And then?
7 was the year after.
Mm-hmm.
And then...
This is great. Pay attention.
Then 7. Then 50.
Whoa. What?
Yep. And then 101. As if that one wasn't enough.
I know, right.
101 seniors was the year that just the kids that are just graduated and are freshmen in college.
Wow.
And this season, when I'm in now, I'm wrapping up. I'm at about 70.
We have so much to talk about. From 4 to 7 to 50 to 101. And all along, you were getting experience and learning and a little bit busier sometimes than you wanted to be.
Right.
So then we started working smarter. And when did we connect?
Oh, I was thinking about that on the way here. This is my 3rd year coming to see you.
Yes.
3rd year of coming to see you.
So I was with you right from your 7 to 50 transition.
Right.
Which was crazy. What do you attribute that to? That's a huge inflection point. It happened very quickly. How? What? When? Where?
I just did my thing. I just worked. I I promoted on Facebook. I promoted on Instagram. I was out, plus my kids were that age.
Yeah, that does help.
Right.
Yes.
So I was at the school at their sporting events. You called that my unfair advantage.
Everybody has at least one unfair advantage, meaning you have it over your competition and you just can't help it. It's unfair, but it is what it is.
Right.
And you had kids in high school.
Right. And I still do. I have a son who's still a junior.
And so everybody knows who you are.
Right.
And they know him, so they know you. And then it's just, hey, you should talk to Karen.
Right.
Well, you don't experience that kind of growth just by happenstance. I mean, it's more, obviously we've determined it's more than just the photos. They like their photos, yes, that's important, of course. But it's more than that. What do you think it is beyond the photos?
I hustle.
Yeah, you hustle. You do hustle.
Yeah.
I don't know a lot of people that work harder than you.
Oh,
really. I mean, and let's add a little more to this. She works a full-time job. So, to recap, 3 kids,
right?
Full-time job, 50 and then 100 seniors. And typically when you're photographing seniors, you're sort of crammed into a season.
Right.
So you're really busy from
August to October. It's yearbook deadline driven.
Right.
So October.
And you're just coming off of your busy season.
Right.
Which is always crazy, but somehow you manage it. I mean, what?
I know.
You have to be proud of that. Look back and think, oh, wow, I was able to accomplish that so quickly.
Right, and even at 70, I look back and I think, how did I ever do 101?
Right, yeah. I can't even fathom.
But I look back at that season, and you and I talk about this, you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
So you don't know how many seniors you can shoot until...
Hey, we do always say that. We say, we don't know where the line is until we cross it.
I crossed it that season, let me tell you.
You crossed it a couple of times. And then we're like, okay, whoops. We have to pull back and we have to figure out how to work smarter. And we've worked over 3 years to increase your prices, change your process, get better, faster at editing so that you can do more. And what has been one thing that you think has really made a difference for you? Just in general, workflow, business?
Talking to you.
Oh, wow. Nice.
No, I'm serious because
I did not expect that. Thank you.
You are one of my biggest cheerleaders, encouragers. You are my accountability partner.
Yeah.
And I mean, when I came to you, I made a commitment that I'm going to talk to you throughout the year.
Yes.
It's not going to be when I'm busy or when I'm slow or when I'm bored. It is going to be, I talk to you frequently.
Frequently. I actually looked in QuickBooks.
Did you?
We talked 15 times this year.
Okay.
So Karen doesn't live close. We do a lot over the phone. We meet in person usually twice per year. Midway and end of the year so that we can recap, which is what we're doing today.
Right.
And I think that that's helpful to have just a coach or mentor who says to you, hey, check in with me. Tell me how you're doing. How are you doing with your goals? Where are you at? What do you need to improve? But also, we've had some tough conversations.
You took the words right out of my mouth. I mean, especially this season when you call me out on some things. And, you need that.
Yeah, that's my job.
You need someone who's going to put your feet to the fire and say, you need to fix this.
Yeah.
And I remember saying to you, Heather, I don't really like you right now. But you need.
But I love you.
Yes, but you need that. You need that.
I remember distinctly one conversation where we were talking and I was pacing right here in my office. I was pacing and I was on I don't even know what it was about, but I was like, Karen, we need to focus. No. We need to just consider. But I said to you just before we started, I said, one thing I love about you is you're easy to teach because, number one, you listen, but you're very introspective. You think about things and you never ever close the door on an idea. Right. So even if I say to you, will you consider this? You might say, not now. This is not the season for that. Right. But maybe. Right. Never say never. Never. Because you will evolve. You know, I mean, I said at one point I'd never have a minivan, and at one point we had a minivan with French fries on the floor, and I was never going to be that mom. So you can't ever say never, ever, always, right? We evolved and we changed. And how do you feel now at the end of this year? So end of your, I guess, third big year. Right. How are you feeling right now? This moment. It's my time. Oh, it's your time. It's gonna be my year. It's gonna be your year. What are you gonna do different, do you think, in the next year? It's time to look at my business model and give my business model a really good look based on some of my goals for next year. That's number one where I'm going to start. I got better hold of my schedule this year. You did? But there's room for improvement. Always. So it's going to be better control of my schedule. It's going to be a different business model. Yes. So it's funny because at different seasons in your business, you're focusing on different things, right? Probably one of the first things we focused on early on was like Lightroom, editing, workflow, right? You have to start with the basics, the mechanics. Right. Then once you got that down, then we moved on to the next thing. Maybe that was pricing. Then it was business. Then it was strategy. And it's always evolving. So one thing that's really funny, and I believe I've even said this to you, is sometimes when we're having a difficult discussion, you know, you might say something like, but Heather, I'm doing my best. To which I reply, false. You could always do better. You might be doing your best in this particular season. I respect that. But there's always something to improve. Absolutely. I'm never, ever complacent. Right. You're either growing or you're not. Yeah, or you're not. And you're constantly growing, which is fantastic. What is one piece of advice you might have for someone starting their business who is maybe struggling to get clients? That's a good question. Work on the relationships that you know, that you have. There's nothing wrong with approaching somebody and saying, I'm looking to build a portfolio. I mean, and I did do that at some point. You know, when on my down season, I would approach people and I would say, I'd like to work on this. You know, can you help me? And more chances than not, they'll say yes. Yeah, they'll say yes. I think that's okay to do. Yes. Well, you said this before. You hustle and you make things happen. Right. You don't wait for things to happen to you. What did I say in my last email? I said, grass does not grow under your feet. I know. How many emails do I send Heather where these ideas are swirling around in my head? You have great ideas. But you're constantly thinking about improvement. Right. How can I improve it and make it more beneficial, easier, better for my clients, but also for me? That is the point of a lifestyle business, is for it to be mutually beneficial. Right. If it's not working for you or if it's not working for the clients, then we'd be idiots not to address it. Right. And do you remember last year when I bought you a calendar? Yes. I didn't get you one this year. But I had this calendar. It was 2016 when you were saying, 100 or 70. And I said, okay, count me how many dates you can work. There's actually not enough days in the year for you, Karen. Well, and what was beautiful about that is you gave me different colored markers. And, purple is for what you're going to do on this day. Yes. Blue is for what you're going to do on this. This is your family time. You block off your calendar. Yeah. Red was that was family or vacation or birthday, something. Where it was you have to take control of your calendar. And I did that this past season. When I did 101, my clients took control of my calendar. So you have to set boundaries. And that doesn't feel good, does it? No. And I mean, and I'm still getting inquiries about senior pictures, and it's like, I'm scheduling into January. It just is what it is. Right. How did you, I know how, but for the benefit of everyone else, how did you separate yourself from your schedule and your calendar? How did you put a buffer between you saying yes to everyone and then bending for everybody's schedule and setting boundaries? How did you do that? I used Acuity this past year, and wow. I mean, so the season before, it was, I'm holding your date, I'm waiting for your retainer, Back and forth with email.
Somebody else isn't crying about that date. I mean, it was a nightmare, and that took up a lot of my time.
A lot.
Valuable
Yes.
time.
Yeah.
So you recommended Acuity, and I switched to it. Easy to use. You block off your time. You know, people pay me their retainer online. I mean,
All taken care of.
I would think it's safe to say it revolutionized.
It's a big word.
Yeah,
Yeah.
revolutionized.
You know what's revolutionized my life? Shellac. The nail polish stays on. It's amazing.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, but there are, I say that jokingly because there are very few things when you use a word like that, it's that serious. For me, Acuity revolutionized my scheduling as well. I use it, it's a scheduling tool, it's a calendar. You can set up your availability, you can send a link to your clients. Here's when I'm available. They can schedule their own appointments.
Absolutely. And you can set it up so it sends out reminder emails. You know, a week in advance. For my seniors, they're getting an email from me reminding them 2 weeks in advance. You know, please text me your outfits. Mm-hmm. There's even an option for them to pay their balance.
Nice. So you get your retainer ahead of time, you get your balance, everything is taken care of. That leaves you very hands-off, that particular workflow, so that you can focus on other things. That was absolutely taking up too much of your bandwidth. Too much.
It was.
And you couldn't say no.
Right.
So
correct.
I said to you, we need a buffer between Karen and her schedule because people were and it was miserable.
It was.
Yeah. You're working 6 and 7 nights a week.
And I'm a people pleaser. I don't like to say no to somebody. So that was sort of a safeguard. If it's not an Acuity, then...
Like, I'm sorry, it's not available. And every once in a while, you'll get an outlier, somebody who calls you and says, you know, nothing works for me. Can you work with me? Yeah, I can do that.
Right.
You know, depending. But here it is. Either I'm available or I'm not. I mean, and I still get questions like that. People will say there's no time slots in your calendar. And I say, well, I must be booked. I'll have to check with it. Almost like it's a separate entity from me. You know, like I have to check with my boss.
Well, and I think it gives your business a face of professional.
Yes. Yeah. Like I'm serious.
Exactly.
And I respect my own time.
Right.
You know, when we're people pleasers, it actually, we're trying to please them, but it actually probably makes them not respect us as much.
Right.
And somebody has a comment. Let me see. Colleen says, this is a complete refresher on our last meeting. Yes, Colleen and I talked about this. She was here. Yeah. I believe I saw that calendar event. Can you address how you handle reschedules? And yes, how do you handle reschedules?
Reschedules. That happens, and that's part of why my calendar got away from me a little bit this year. Is the weather was awful.
Rain. Yeah.
It was not a good season in terms of that. I lost quite a bit of time, but you have to keep a buffer in your schedule for rain, for kids who suddenly, oh, I forgot I have an event that night. Can you reschedule me? So you just have to leave some flexibility in your schedule.
Yes. Yeah. You know what I do? Actually, in my Acuity, they can reschedule themselves.
Okay.
So I have clients all the time. Not all the time. I mean, one happened last week where she had scheduled an appointment. She needed to reschedule it. She didn't contact me. She didn't ask me for anything. She did it herself. And I loved that. Okay. And actually what it did was Acuity took it out of that date and put it into this date. And I was completely hands-off of that.
I'll have to check into an option.
Loved it. So you could say to them, hey, go into Acuity and reschedule. However, with you, you might have to deal with them one-on-one because of the rain. Yours is a little different than mine.
Right, and I only shoot in the evenings. It's just, it works with their schedule. I mean, I have yet to meet a teenager who wants to get out of bed for that.
Let's do a sunrise shoot.
Yeah, the golden hour. And I'm not a morning person, so I only shoot in the evenings.
And then you have certain dates that you shoot, and then certain dates that are blocked off.
Right.
Certain times. I mean, obviously, you're only going to do one in the evening.
Right.
So it's this time, and then go book it. And how have you received any feedback from the clients in terms of Acuity? They like that
they did like it. They did like it. I mean, it makes it easy for them. I mean, face it, we're all scrambling for time.
Yes.
It was, they could do it in their PJs. They could look at my schedule, pay it, boom, be done.
And think about it, there's no back and forth with the email. That was the biggest time-consuming process for me, was this back and forth with the email. Leanne is asking, is Acuity paid? Yes, they have a paid version. Do they have a free version as well? They have a trial. Yeah.
It's worth every penny.
It is not expensive. Was it $120 a year?
That's the number that comes to my mind.
Yeah, $120 a year. which don't tell Acuity, but
I know, right?
I love it. I actually got into it this morning, and I just periodically check to make sure that I'm keeping up with it, because occasionally I'll make a mistake and I won't block something off that I should have. Like Evan's birthday, I forgot to block off. Now he's at school, so it's okay,
Right.
but somebody scheduled an appointment and it's fine. But I was just going to block it off so I could get ready for his whoops.
Right. And I've done that too, and I've just explained to the client, I'm sorry, this is a new system for me.
I'm trying to figure it out.
Can we do a different date?
Right.
If you explain things to people, they're cool.
Yeah, I love Acuity. So if anyone is having trouble with their schedule, or just wants to make it easier for themselves or the client, definitely check it out. I have a few people that are using it, but for you, it was absolutely necessary.
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay. We're switching gears a little bit here.
Okay.
I have a question for you about saturation in the industry. We all know that there are a ton of photographers, and people who are starting out feel like, I don't know, there's a photographer around every corner. Should I really be doing this? The market is so saturated. What are your thoughts on that?
Competition is a beautiful thing.
It has to be there.
And I guess I'm a capitalist, but if you look at markets where there's just a monopoly, there's no reason for that company to improve or to get better. So I think it's great for our industry. It changes our industry. You know, sometimes maybe things that aren't so good, but it's things that are good. It's forward progress. But I also think as a photographer, competition is going to push you to better your skills, better your business, and
you haven't had any trouble getting clients?
No.
No, that's the bottom line of that. Have you had, you're newer-ish, a couple years in now.
Right.
You never, as long as I knew you, never struggled to fill your calendar. In fact, quite the opposite.
Right.
Never.
Right.
So is market saturation, does it really hurt or impact anybody's business in a negative way? My thoughts, and I think you will agree, is no, it does not.
Right. I mean, my competition, and there are senior photographers out there, but you get people with, my friend has a camera, can I take your picture? Yeah. I mean, that's
right.
good.
That's fine. Let them do it.
Let them do it. And, you compare your work next to my work, and let's see what we got.
Right. And some people are okay with that. They're okay with, maybe they don't see the difference in the quality.
Right.
So they're okay with the snapshots, which is perfectly fine.
Right. And those aren't my clients.
That's right. And you have enough. So, how do you think you were able to pare it down from 100 to 70?
Like, just blocking off that time.
That's it. There's no time. It's
right,
done.
Right. And it was borderline burnout last year. And if you're in jeopardy, if you're in jeopardy of losing the joy in something you love, then you need to step back and reevaluate, because photography means way too much for me to lose that part of my life. So even 70
point.
Was pushing it this year for me.
Listen, 30 would push it for me. So when you say 70, it boggles my mind how you do that many. You're very good at your efficient process. Oh, you know what? That brings up a good point. But can we talk about how you handle just the sheer volume of images? So you've finished a session with your client. You're on site.
Right.
What do you do right before you leave?
Well, when I'm working with my seniors, I let them see pictures in the back of my camera just as we go along. I find that it helps loosen them up a little bit. But when we're done, I load my images onto my Mac, and because I have a version of Lightroom on that Mac, and we call their gallery right then and there.
On site.
On site. Because there's no sense in keeping a picture they don't like and spending time editing that.
When you started this, I thought, fascinating approach. You started with your iPad.
Right.
You had Lightroom Mobile.
Right.
So they would go through it and just mark. How would you?
Well, Lightroom Mobile was a simple swipe up or swipe down.
Yeah.
Then when I switched to the actual desktop version of Lightroom, it's just put an X on it. It's that simple.
You have them call and reject their own photos. Brilliant. So how many photos do you shoot in a normal session?
Oh, it varies. So if you've got gorgeous light and a gorgeous senior, you're just going to keep shooting.
Yeah, you overshoot.
You overshoot. Typically 100, 125. And depending...
But still, that's amazing. What? Because if I had a senior and I had a couple hours, I'd have 600 photos. Something's wrong with me. You're very good at being deliberate and intentional, because you have to be. You don't have a choice.
Well, and I need to get even better at it. Just because who needs 100 pictures of themselves?
Right.
You know?
So you have 100, you put it in front of them, and you just, do you give them a number or do you just tell them, just reject the ones you don't like?
Just reject the ones you don't like.
Yeah.
I mean, and a lot of times they're like, oh, I can't decide right now.
Well, that's fine.
Then just keep it. You know, if you're in doubt, just keep it. You know, it's not like...
Just show me the ones you don't like. Because I don't want to work on those. If you hate that expression of yourself, and by the way, I might love it.
Exactly. Right. These are seniors who are very picky about how they look. And I don't want that responsibility. They're their images, they're not my images. Well, they're mine for marketing purposes, but they're their.
Yeah.
Right.
This is a completely different approach.
Right.
But by the time you go home, you've taken 100, they've rejected, what? Do they reject like 30 or 20, or do you find, is there...
It's all over, it's all over the place.
Yeah, it depends on the client. But you go home and your first culling is done.
And that's my only culling, unless I come across an image that, you know, just doesn't meet my standards.
Yeah.
But the other thing I do when we're culling the gallery is I say to them, because I'm a huge Instagrammer, their session, a picture from their image, or an image from their session gets posted that night, strategically around 9:30. But I let them pick an image.
Oh, right, because what you love might not be what they love.
Right. And I say, I'm posting first, but then I'll send you a picture to post, and it's usually a different one. And they love that. I mean, they can't wait for that, and they even strategically think, do I want to post this on a school night? Do I want to post this?
Do they really?
Yes.
Teenagers think that through because they want people to see it.
Right. Like I had one senior who said, I worked with him on the weekend, he's like, I have to post this on a school night. So I see people in the hallways the next day, and they comment, and it's...
That's hilarious.
That's the mindset of my client.
Oh, good. And you're catching a glimpse, which is very good.
Right.
Understanding your target market.
Right.
And how do you think, how have they reacted to seeing their images and narrowing them down? What's the response been?
It just builds the excitement.
Yeah, they love it.
They love it.
They
and
love
it's part
it.
of the whole experience of working with me too, is that they get to see those when they're done. It's more than the experience of working one-on-one with me, but I get to see my pictures when I'm done.
Wow.
We live in a very instant...
Yeah, they want it instantly.
Yeah.
What do you do? How do you feel about, do you ever say to them, these will get retouched? Like, what about somebody that has, like, blemishes?
Right. And I explain it to them. And even if an image is too dark or too not warm enough, I show them real quickly, this is what I'll do with it. If you like your expression...
Yeah. Just
and it's a little dark or a little light, don't worry, that's what I do when I edit. Right.
And they love it.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta hand it to you for that one.
Well, thank you.
That was really smart. You came up with that. We discussed it, and I could not wait to see how it played out. You started that last year, was that right? Last year?
Last year was the first year I used the iPad.
Yeah.
The year before that, I did use my my Mac, and I dragged around a hard drive, and that was disastrous.
No, not good. But now you're more mobile.
Yes.
Yeah, fluid.
Right.
And you're just like hanging out. Hey, let's go through your pictures. How long does that take?
I mean, it loads instantly in Lightroom. It was taking quite some time on my iPad, but it loads instantly. Maybe 10 minutes we look through them.
That's it. So, because I think some people would think, well, I don't want to hold them up, or I don't want to spend my time doing it, but really it doesn't take any time.
Right. And
they've picked what they don't like, and it saves you time in the post.
Right. And, there's some lag time in editing, so I think it lets them see... They know it's coming. It's not like they haven't seen their images at all.
Right.
It takes off some of that anxiety.
Yeah. They feel like, oh wow, I look better than I thought, or I love these, and they're really excited.
Right.
Brilliant. Thank you for that tip and advice. That's golden.
Yes.
Okay. What is a mistake you see photographers making? You have any tips?
That you need. Oh, I need a fancy camera, or I need this to build my business. I don't buy it. I built my business with, and I'm not discrediting investing in your equipment, but I built my business with a Canon Rebel, crop sensor image, and a 50mm 1.8 prime lens that was $100. So
that's it.
That was it.
For how long? How long did you before you were able to?
Maybe 2 years.
Yeah, a while.
Right.
Until you felt like, okay, I'm earning money, it makes sense, and you started to get the sense like I need to upgrade,
right. And that's when your advice was always invest in a piece of better glass. So I upgraded to the 70 to 200, which was also revolutionary
for sure.
And then I upgraded to a full body,
and now what do you primarily use at 70-200?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and your camera body is the
Canon 60.
Yeah, and you like it?
I do.
Yeah.
I do.
70 to 200, and your photos look beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
And I posted a link to Karen's Facebook page, but I'll post it again at the bottom of this video, and then also a link to your website so that people can see it. Where can people connect with you?
Facebook.
Yep.
On Instagram.
Instagram. You do a lot of Instagram.
I live on Instagram.
Yeah.
That's where my clients
Right.
are.
Right.
My website, Blue Eye Pics. I am on Twitter, not as much. My Instagram automatically posts.
Thanks. Yep.
Yep. To
Yep.
that.
Smart.
And I'm on Snapchat.
You're on Snapchat because you have to be.
But I'm Blue Eye Pics 1 on Snapchat.
Oh, is there another Blue Eyed Pics?
It was me. I couldn't remember my password.
That's funny.
So,
what's next for you? What are you learning now?
Well, as I mentioned, I'm going to refine my business model, which is going to be huge. Huge. It's time.
It's time.
And I'm looking at a model program for seniors. I recently met up with Linda James, and she runs a successful model program.
Yeah, she does really well. Yeah.
So I'm weighing the pros and cons of that, and is it right for my business right now? I see advantages in it, I see disadvantages in it, so I'm kind of tinkering around with that. But right now it's time to start planning for the class of 2018.
Wow.
Which, I mean,
yeah,
I have people from that class waiting for me to open my schedule. My acuity schedule.
They're waiting. That's incredible. Congratulations.
Well, thank you.
You blow me away.
Thanks.
I love teaching you.
Thanks.
It's been, and we've become great friends.
Yes.
We spend a lot of time together just on the phone.
Yes.
But we know each other personally and professionally. I love it. If you guys have any questions, quickly, you can please post them, because in a few seconds here, Karen and I are going to jump off because we have work to do. We have, typically what we do in this session is we review 2016, and then we plan for 2017. Goals, pricing, strategy. We're going to talk about that model program, what it looks like for you, what would be a better year, so that, because what we do is we forecast, like, what do we want to be talking about next year at this time?
Right.
And what would make us feel good? What would make us feel successful? Do you feel successful?
I do feel successful.
How do you define success?
Success is when my work connects with people. You
Yes.
know, if I'm out in public and somebody comes up to me and says, "I love your work," I consider that successful because I've connected with them.
Yes.
I've evoked an emotion in them.
Oh, you sure have. Yeah. And Cynthia says, where do you check how many shutter clicks are on your camera? Oh, you can do that, I think, in the custom functions or in the info on your computer. I'll post a link for that, Cynthia, for shutter clicks. So are there any other questions? Let us know. And if not, I'll post Karen's information below. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, I love it. And we'll see you guys soon. Thank you.